So in the year 2013, 2014, and I was recollecting about this event, just sitting amongst all you beautiful people, I got a call from an agency in Mumbai saying that the brand new E-Class facelift version of the Mercedes-Benz is being launched in Kolkata, and the agency has decided that you would be hosting the launch event. There is someone from the agency who would like to speak to you and clarify all that you have in mind. We got on a call and he said the MC needs to be well informed about the brand, needs to know the history of Daimler Chrysler, needs to know everything about the Mercedes-Benz E-Class facelift version, and needs to be entertaining, engaging, well-spoken, with a good sense of humor. So I said, that's a tall ask. I understood what all I was supposed to do, all my duties that I needed to perform on stage, and I said, fine, I've got it all clear. What next? So now let's talk about the money. What are your expectations? It's very simple. The brand new E-Class facelift version of the Mercedes-Benz. That's what I expect in return of my services. Why so? May I ask? Obviously, he knew I was pulling his leg. So I said, you see, whenever I've done these launches, if it's been for an oil brand, a cooking oil, they've given me a hamper at the end of the show. If it's been a biscuit from a reputed company, they've given me a hamper of biscuits after the end of the show. If I've gone and inaugurated a store, they give me goodies from the store. So I was likewise thinking, if I'm there at the launch event of the Mercedes E-Class facelift version, then shouldn't I be getting the Mercedes E-Class facelift version? And then the gentleman chuckled on the phone and said, you've got a very good sense of humor. I said, that's exactly what you were looking for. My name is Mir, and my journey, my story, my talk all began when I was in my first year of college. That's 1994. I'll take you to an incident in the month of July 94. I was all of 19 years of age. I was in first year, and it was raining heavily, so my mother said, go and fetch the clothes from the laundry. I used to stay in a two-roomed flat with absolutely no privacy and with two very nosy parents who would in any case not allow any privacy. I traveled to the laundry, I collected the clothes, and as most launderers do, they normally pack the iron clothes in a piece of paper. It's an old newspaper, and they would tie a string around it. My mother gave me 10 rupees and said, I was, by the way, the only non-earning member of the family at that point of time. I'm the only child. So she said, take this 10 rupee note, don't come back walking, it's raining, you'll get the clothes soiled, take a rickshaw and come back safe. So I sat on the rickshaw, it's a hand-drawn rickshaw, central Kolkata. I've got this pile of clothes on my lap, and I'm going through an old copy of the Economic Times, which in those days was available at 2 rupees. Pretty expensive for an ordinary middle-class household, because Bengali newspapers or vernacular newspapers were far cheaper. I had a habit of reading through old newspapers, magazines. If I went to a salon or a saloon, as we would say, I would wait for my turn, patiently going through the pages of an old magazine. I would love doing that. If I'm having moody puffed rice for you, then I am having the moody and I'm opening the thoma or that paper bag and reading whatever is on it. It does not matter what it's about. It's just that it keeps me engaged. I had to read something or the other. And I was reading this strip column ad which said, FM is coming to Kolkata, frequency modulation, a new type of radio apparently at that point of time for my comprehension. And if you've got the gift of the gab, you can apply within the next 7 days and try your luck. If selected, you become a radio jockey with one of the leading media houses in the country. I looked at the ad. It was an old newspaper. Almost 6 days had passed after the ad was released. We had to apply within 7 days, which means I had just 1 day to go, which was the next day. And I did not have a freaking clue as to what am I supposed to do. Gift of the gab. I looked up the dictionary. What is the meaning of gab? And then I discovered what I had to do. I got hold of an old blank cassette. I recorded my voice and I submitted it at the office where I was supposed to do that. And the very next day, I get a call that you've been shortlisted for an interview. And then, in due course of time, over the next 3-4 days, I passed voice tests and I was selected from amongst 75 candidates, all of whom had applied before me. That is, within the first 6 days. Winning against all odds, that was the first odd I won against. Way back in 1994. My entry into the world of radio. Fascinated as hell. Why so fascinated? Because as a kid, when all my other friends would watch television, I would be glued to the radio. I was more of an audio guy. I would listen to the likes of an Amin Sayani, a Sravati Mojumdar, Partho Ghosh, Gopi Ghosh, Jagannath Bosu, Bimala Bosu. They are all stalwarts in the world of voice acting. And I would try and emulate them. I would try and mimic actor voices. I would try and put myself in that situation and wonder, had I been talking on a microphone, what would I be saying? What would I be perceiving? In my own sweet world, I used to make up stories and say them to myself. I had no facility to record. I had an old radio set at home, and when FM came in, and the day I was about to go on air for the first time, just the previous evening I realized I did not have a radio which supported FM. So I had to go out to the market and get an FM set. That's how my career in radio started, which subsequently led to television, stage. I started hosting events, and I actually funded my college fees. My parents were aghast because at that point of time, I was desperately trying to clear my chartered accountancy foundation exams. Not because my parents wanted me to do that, but my friends were doing it, so I wanted to follow them. First mistake. Second, I enrolled at IISWBN for a PGDBM course, a post-graduation diploma in business management. My parents had no clue. My mother has not gone beyond class 5, and my father is a class 10 dropout. They both come from a small town in the district of Murshidabad, which is Azimganj. None of them could speak English. They could barely conduct themselves in public. And they were in Calcutta looking for means to run a family. And then I dropped in the year 1975. I don't know whether I was planned or unplanned, but I happened some 48 years ago. From there, my parents took it very seriously. They said, you're quitting your studies or you're neglecting your studies to pursue a career that we have absolutely no knowledge of. What is a radio jockey? I jokingly told my father, a radio jockey is a person who owns a horse and rides it while listening to the radio. We have never heard of any such thing. My father, unfortunately, did not have my sense of humor. So I had a tough time trying to convince them that while my other friends were going in for engineering, they were going in for management courses, medical courses, why was I doing something that they were not doing? So I went the other way. What are the odds of convincing my parents? None. I fought, I won. Level 2 crossed. Level 3, I got a call to audition for television, to read news on television. I myself was against it because I firmly believed that a radio voice should not be exposed on camera because the aura, the mystery, the mystique behind a radio voice gets shattered the moment you get to see a voice that you get to actually hear on the radio. Someone convinced me to give an audition. When I auditioned, the person in charge rejected me, saying that you can't be a newscaster because you sound like a guy from radio. I said, that's exactly where I've come from. You need to change. I said, change? My style of speaking? How am I supposed to do that? What are the odds against me? I fought, got selected in the second round, and then started my television career in '98 as a newscaster. From then, dabbled in many other things, most of which you've already heard about, you know about. I won't bore you with details. The only thing that came out of this was that I was trying to win. First, to fight against those odds and win. I was not wanting to go the conventional path because that was very boring for me. So I decided to do things my way. Like Frank Sinatra said, my way. I was also trying to do things my way. When I started to grow on radio and more people started listening to me, and then television happened and films started happening, I used to host events. All that I saw inside me developing was the art of communication. I knew that I not just had the power of communicating, but also inclusively communicating. There is absolutely no point and no glory in being on a stage and speaking in a way which is completely your own. You're trying to show off, you're trying to show people how talented you are. Are you trying to do that, or are you trying to combine everyone, get everyone, interact with everyone, and make them one? You and the audience should be like one. Many people tell me, whenever they come over for auditions of similar kinds, that okay, I know this, I know this, I know this, I know this, I know this. I know so many other aspects. I'm very good on Instagram, I have so many followers. I'm very good on Facebook, I have a good healthy following there as well. I do reels, they're very interesting and they're watched by so many people. I can do this. Now finally, what should I do? You're not a peacock in the Mughal gardens. Don't go preening around. It's not about what you all possess and what you can do. It's about how you can channelize your resources and bring out one single product. If you do multiple things, you'll be looking like Govinda in Eastman color. Govinda has the talent to handle that. Do you have it in you? This is one question which I kept asking myself. I'm dabbling in so many things. I'm doing radio, I'm doing television, I'm doing films, I'm doing stage. But what is my true calling? Last year, when I quit radio after 28 years, little did I think about the fact that if I continue 2 more years on radio, I'll be completing 3 decades. From being a teenager to the fact that now my daughter is in college and she's listening to me. It's a great feeling. But then the bug bit me and I wanted to reinvent myself, which is a golden rule. It's a thumb rule for any communicator in whichever field you are in. It doesn't really matter whether you're in entertainment or you're in business or you're in research. If you're a performer, it is imperative. It is absolutely essential that you know your true calling. After I quit my job in June 2022, I sat at home for 6 frustratingly long months, wondering what am I going to reinvent myself as. And I did a short analysis, a short research amongst my friends and my seniors, and they said, Mir, the storyteller, is most appreciated by everyone. You're popular as a comedian, you were once a newscaster, you're very popular amongst your radio fans, but when you say your stories, people actually sit up, take notice, and listen to you. In this fast-changing world where we do not have the patience to go through a 30 seconds reel, how would you expect a young mind with all the academic pressure that he or she is facing to go through a book just for casual reading? We are addicted to our mobiles. There's nothing new in this statement. The fact is, what we are sacrificing is reading time. We've stopped reading, and that's exactly why audio storytellers are gaining the roost. They're moving ahead because they know that the people or the audience who's not practically reading books doesn't mind listening to the stories. And that's how Goppo Take was born on the 23rd of January. On the day my daughter completed 20 years. She was born in 2003 and I launched Goppo Take on the 23rd of January 2023, the day she was born. With a very simple message to my daughter that this year, I do not have a brand new mobile to gift you. I do not have shopping vouchers to give you. I'm giving you a product which, God willing, will remain with you. This is something which your father has started. And if you or your friends are interested in the future, you may continue. I treat younger creators who are now doing brilliant stuff on YouTube and many other platforms like an Audible or a Spotify as my co-anchors, as my co-vocal artists. They might not be heard maybe with the frequency that people hear me, but there will be a day, and if I'm there till that day, I may be enjoying that success where young vocal artists, they know exactly what they want to say, and in this fast-changing world where radio is gradually shifting towards podcasting and more immersive and personalized listening, that is where my true market is. What are my odds? I don't have a single sponsor with me right now. It's a completely self-funded project, but only because I appreciate the love that comes towards me when people tell me, Minda, apnar mukhe eta goppo shunte chai, apnar golpo na shune, amader ghum ashe. If that's something which the audience feels towards you, then you have a responsibility towards your audience as well. But is that responsibility only about creating content, in my case audio content? No. It's about engaging other people who perhaps do not have the resources, the monetary power, and access to certain things that you are privileged to be in touch with. That is where hand-holding is very important. We often talk about hand-holding, but it remains a very technical term until you actually get out in the market and do that with younger creators. When I used to go to the Akashvani studios, I used to see the stalwarts of radio sitting in front of me, sipping tea, having their snacks, and talking and chatting. And I used to sit at a table far, far away from them, just thinking that if I go up to them, they'll probably think I've come there for an autograph, or maybe I'll be disturbing them in their thoughts. I dare not do that. There have been times when I have approached them and I have been brutally snubbed. I do not want the next generation to speak about Mir Afzal Ali in the same manner. What use is your art if you cannot pass it on to someone? What use is your craft if questions asked about youngsters are not answered in the proper manner? Creativity will stay, it will grow, it will be enhanced by technology. But are we putting our hearts to what we are creating? It's very often that we work for clients, we sell products, and I have sold so many products on behalf of the radio station I represented for 29 long years. But then at the end of the day, the bug that kept biting me was telling me, move away from the corporate structure and do what your heart tells you to do. Do what is your true calling. And I found out that there were several boundaries and restrictions while working in a corporate setup. So it's good to be your own boss. I don't get a fat paycheck. I never got one. But whatever I got stopped coming in since June 2022. And a fixed income then became absolutely uncertain. So at the end of the month, I would not know what I would have in hand. But what I have in heart is far more important than what I have in hand. I work with my heart and I try as much as possible to engage people. Today, when you go out and create content, it may be audio, it may be audiovisual, it may be in the form of a book, you need to understand that you need to include everyone. You cannot isolate art, you cannot isolate your craft, thinking that it's only going to be a money-making machine for you. The sponsors will come, the money will come, but be choosy and picky when you are your own boss, or rather you are an entrepreneur. It took me quite some time to pronounce that word correctly, leave alone behaving like one. And it took me time to understand that being truthful to what you're creating is the key word. There will be sponsors who will tell me, this is the bag of tea we promote, this is the brand of tea or coffee. Between your stories, you just have to lift the cup, take a sip, do a ah, and say, this part of the story is brought to you by so-and-so tea. This is the soap that I rub under my armpits and they smell better than ever before. This part of the story is brought to you by this soap. I use this talc, I use this perfume. You're diluting your content, you're diluting your product. You need to sell it, but you need to smartly do that. Product integration marketing, all that comes with a very good price. There are several people in the market who will do it for you, who are waiting with bags of money, and they will exactly pay you what you want. But for that, you need to sell your craft in a way which might not be aesthetically matching with what you're trying to produce. The question is, are we ready to do that? Are we going to hit that compromise spot where we try to balance our craft, our art, with the money we expect to run the resource? I've come to a point where I now tell stories. Most of them are fiction. I also plan to talk to people and tell them their stories. Go to Shantal Pargona, pick up a Santalese guy, listen to his story, get that translated in a language that we so-called understand, and get his story heard by millions and millions of people. That is the dream I stand for. The 6th of August is a very, very important day in my life. The fact that I'm speaking to all of you in the month of August 2023 is so coincidental. I began my radio career on the 6th of August. That same day, way back in 1945, someone dropped a bomb on Hiroshima. My parents faced the same impact when I told them I was joining radio. They're still recovering from the shock. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mirchi. Thank you so much for being such a big supporter. And no questions, please. I charge for an interview.